Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 12th and final round.
Right hand, Golovkin steps in and down he goes again. Unbelievable. Mayweather makes him pay. What a rookie mistake. A sensational left hook by De La Hoya.
It's facts. I'm the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to believe it myself, but it's the truth. I'm the best. I'm going to show you how great I am.
From Southern California, this is the Last Round Podcast.
Here we go, another live show, this time from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. And today I have a Southern California boxing icon, Anthony Stacked Saldaña.
What's going on, man? Glad to finally be on your show.
Just tell everyone where you're from, Supreme Boxing.
Supreme Boxing, man. Out here with my boy Mike Shep, and we're out here covering the Tyson Fury fight. As he said, live from the T-Mobile Arena. It was an absolutely packed house. It was an electric environment. Tyson played to the Mexican fans tonight. We got the rap music now going on because there's still some fights afterwards. Still some swing fights going on. So, but I mean, it was a great fight. What did you think of it?
I thought it was a good workmanlike fight. You know, he got cut early. Was it the third or fourth round by what we thought was a headbutt, which turned out to be a good punch from Otto Wallin. And then after that, he kind of came in low for the rest of the fight, you know, ducking away, hiding that left eyebrow. So, you know, Otto Wallin couldn't play on it because, you know, in my opinion, I thought that he either had to stop him or the doctor was going to stop Tyson Fury.
No, exactly. Once they ruled it a cut from a punch, it became a very dangerous fight for Tyson Fury. I think it was the fifth round when I told you, look at this cut. They're going to stop this fight. And, you know, basically it was you telling me, hey, he needs to get a knockout, or they need to, you know, really stop the bleeding in that eye because he was in danger, I should say, of the fight being stopped.
Did you think that the only reason they didn't stop it was he was Tyson Fury, the lineal champion? He was the showman. This show was in Vegas to promote him to the U.S. fans ready for Wilder.
You know, it was a bad cut. It was in a bad area, but it seemed like it was leaking down the side of his face. We were sitting ringside. From my angle, I don't know what it looked like on television, but from my angle, it looked like it was coming down the side of his face. Yes, I'm sure there was still blood getting into that eye, but he wasn't taking a lot of punishment either. He was the defensive Tyson Fury that we know. Although he did get cut, although he did get hit early in the fight, it seems like once the first stoppage occurred when the doctor took a look at it, it kind of put him on notice that, hey, I better do something. You know, I better stay fighting this defensive fight and not get hit, or else they are going to stop it. So I don't necessarily think it's because he was Tyson Fury or because he was the lineal champion. He just didn't take a lot of punishment, and it was kind of coming down the side of his face, not necessarily in his eye. I know in the later rounds he was blinking a lot more, but by that time he was landing a lot more punches on Otto.
The reason I ask is because the fight before, when Navarrete fought, he was getting some punishment, his opponent Alade, but the referee just kind of jumped in, and you could kind of see that the fans were actually kind of disappointed. They were, you come here, it's like a gladiator, you're baying for blood, you want to see that.
Exactly.
Whereas the referee just kind of jumped in and saved him, which you can understand due to the incidents, the unfortunate events we've had this year with Max and Dedeshev and several others.
I can't understand that. But like I said again, I think the difference is that although Otto Wallin was landing some punches, it wasn't necessarily the beating that Navarrete was putting onto, Elorde. Elorde, they get hit. It doesn't look like he was really fighting back much. And I think that punishment was just going to go ahead and continue to happen. I think Navarrete he's a strong champion, and he was way more experienced. He had way more ring generalship than this kid coming out of the Philippines today.
You think that performance takes any shine off, the expected Deontay Wilder fight?
Actually, I think it makes it a little bit more intriguing. I think it makes it more as if Wilder should come in and stop this guy. If there would have been a round 13 in their first fight,
You can see it's the TV.
It's the television behind me. I thought
the problems of being live.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, if there would have been a round 13, I think Wilder might have stopped Fury. I think now with his performance tonight, with the way he looked, I think it makes it that much more intriguing to say, hey, Wilder better stop this guy. Because although Joshua got beat by Reese, there's still that vibe there that we can still see a Joshua Wilder fight happen. And I think that Wilder really needs to look good in his next performance against Fury, so he can basically just say, hey, I am the king of the heavyweights now. I beat the lineal champion. I'm the king. Joshua's got beat. I'm undefeated. I'm out there. I'm beating everybody. So I think basically what this fight did with his performance tonight, with Fury's performance tonight, I think it puts a little bit more pressure on Wilder to look better and to come out and actually knock Fury out in his next fight.
Do you think it's one of those situations where, Top Rank maybe should have just let him have the one fight and then got into the Wilder fight instead of having the two fights?
I don't know. I think Fury may need another tune-up, but I'm not for sure.
He's probably going to have several weeks out of the ring now because of obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
The cut.
That cut's an automatic 45-day suspension. But I think it's going to be longer than that for him to actually heal.
Going back into it, we just had a little break to turn off the TV that was making noise in the background.
Now we got the noise from the fights that are still going on. But like I said, Fury, he's the lineal. He's still the man to beat. I think, like I said, his performance tonight is going to have to be more pressure on Wilder. There's going to be more pressure on Wilder to go out and actually knock out the lineal champion Fury in the next fight.
It was funny because in some of the IFL TV interviews, from the house in Vegas to the build up to the fight, Ben Davidson was kind of saying that he was disappointed in how quickly he got rid of Thomas Swartz in the first fight and that he wanted rounds. I'm sure that now he didn't want rounds, He's obviously taking, a little bit of a beating, nothing too crazy, but then obviously he's got the two cuts, like one below the eye, one above the eye. Like you touched on, that's 45 days at least out of the ring, no training, and then hopefully, we see the Wilder fight come April time, maybe even May.
Yeah.
Wilder Ortiz fight's not even officially been announced for November. We're in the middle of September.
Yeah, so like I said, I think we're looking at spring next year. If not, it may even be pushed back until the summer. We'll just see how everything plays out. There's no guarantee that Wilder's going to beat Ortiz either. In that last fight, there's still a lot of controversy that referee should have stopped that fight in the 9th round when Ortiz had Wilder hurt. So Ortiz is still a puncher. He's still a dangerous fighter, and we can still see Wilder get beat. So there's no guarantee that Wilder is going to beat Fury in that next rematch.
And in the background, you've got Dylan White approaching 700 days as the mandatory, and he's supposed to have his guaranteed mandatory shot by May 2020, according to a previous Eddie Hearn interview. But
yeah, that's not going to happen.
But moving swiftly on, the co-main event, Emmanuel Navarrete against Juan Miguel Olade. TKO fourth. What did you think of Navarrete?
Navarrete looks spectacular. He just fought 30 days ago at the Top Rank card. It was the inaugural Top Rank card at the Bank of California Stadium in Los Angeles. He came off a very quick victory there against the Vaca. Jumped back in the ring 30 days later, and he looked spectacular again. Although I'm sure Elordo isn't even in the top 50. Just the fact that he's fighting 30 days later, and he's fighting an unknown opponent to us. Anything could happen, but he went in there. He took care of business. You and I both talked to Ray Vargas, the defending WBC super bantamweight champion. He was here. He was sitting ringside, and it looked like he has his eyes now set on taking on Emmanuel Navarrete so they can unify the WBO and WBC titles. And to me, that would be a great fight.
Two literal giants of that division.
Really, those are two of the biggest 122-pounders that I know. I mean,
that for some of the small divisions are really on fire at the minute. You've got those two, Tony Roman.
Yeah.
That's all intriguing fights that we'd like to have. Luckily for us in Southern California,
especially with these two Hispanic fighters. If you have that matchup between Navarrete and Ray Vargas in LA, somewhere like Dignity Health Sports Park or whatever the hell it's called, because I'm still used to calling this StubHub Center, or even at the new stadium at the Bank of California Arena. They can pack that house. They can sell that fight to the Mexican community in Southern California, and they can pack out that house.
You could really mix and match all of those in that division and come out with some outstanding fights.
That fight has every making of being a Barrera Morales type fight. It has every makings of being that type of matchup where you see fighters like kind of reminds me of maybe even a Vasquez Marquez type fight where they could go into a trilogy with these two guys. I mean, they're mirror each other in their size. They both have that long reach. They're both warriors, so I mean, that's a matchup that I'm really looking forward to seeing in that division.
There's some good ones. Obviously, Danny Roman. I don't know what's happening with him because obviously he pulled out of that recent fight with a shoulder injury. I don't know whether they're going to have to replay that.
Yeah, Roman was supposed to fight last night against a undefeated Russian in New York on the Devin Haney card. He did have a shoulder injury. It's not going to require surgery, but he is going to be out for a while healing. And we'll just see where it goes from there. We'll see if he stays with that mandatory defense, if he drops the title and maybe goes a different directions. But, that's something that we're just going to have to wait and see with Danny Roman.
Moving on to one of the ones that me and you predicted as fight of the night, Jose Pedraza against Jose Zepeda. Jose Zepeda ran out a unanimous decision winner, and would you have classed him as the underdog going in?
Yeah, I would say he's the underdog. But this is Pedraza's first time moving up in weight as well. Zepeda actually fought a very tough fight against Jose Ramirez. It was a good fight. Everybody had predicted that this would probably be fight of the night, and to me, it's up there. I mean, the Tyson Fury fight was a very good fight as well, but as far as the technicalities of the two fights, you've seen more technical action in that Zepeda Sniper Pedraza fight, and I just hats off to both warriors.
What did you think of Zepeda when he fought Ramirez?
He fought. He didn't fight Ramirez's fight. Zepeda fought his fight. He fought his style. He made Ramirez, miss a lot. He fought a defensive style. Kind of almost reminded me of a Floyd Mayweather type fight. He was sticking, he was moving, he was boxing beautifully. His cardio was up. He never seemed tired throughout that fight. I just think if he would have landed a few more power shots and been maybe a little bit more aggressive, he could have pulled that win off against
Yeah, I thought he actually won that fight when I watched it. I thought he should have gone on to taking that championship and should have been fighting Hooker. But then look at it now. Ramirez went in there and destroyed Hooker, and now he's unified 2 titles in that weight division.
Hooker. I never thought too highly of Hooker. I actually thought he had lost that fight to Darlis Perez.
Mm-hmm.
He got a gift decision. They give him a draw, but he was a title holder, and now Ramirez has that title.
Not a champion.
He was a title. A difference.
That's another very strong division, though. I'm thinking, hopefully Zepeda can get the winner of the World Boxing Super Series, maybe. But seems to be a long line of people that just keep popping up in, that 140 class that really, are expecting a shot down the line.
Well, the fight was now made, so you got Regis Prograis going up against Josh Taylor. That should be an outstanding fight, and the winner of that, of course. We'll see what happens with Jose Ramirez. We'll see if he even takes that fight or if he moves up to 47. He may test the waters at 47. I just don't know what's going to happen. Ramirez is he's a big super lightweight. He's a big fighter for 140 pounds. But it's a tough division, and there's some big fights to be made in that division as well.
That's October 26th, and that's probably on paper one of the best fights of this year so far. Clash of styles, Josh Taylor and Regis Prograis.
Yeah, and that's going to be a good fight. But let me get back to Ramirez real quick. I honestly don't see Ramirez fighting a strong opponent until the end of next year. He suffered a very bad hand injury against Hooker, which required surgery. We just posted a picture actually of his hand where he had stitches across his hand. So I don't think he really wants to get into a Rock'em Sock'em Robot type fight with Regis Prograis anytime soon, or any top-level opponents anytime soon. I know he was scheduled to fight his mandatory Victor Postal, which was scheduled for November 30th at the Bank of California Arena, with Isaac Dogbo and Carl Frampton being the co-main event, but now he's pulled out, and I've heard that Oscar Valdez will step up to 130, make his first his debut, I should say. He make his debut at 130 pounds that night. So let's kind of see what happens. But back to the Prograis Taylor fight, you have you have different styles there. You have Prograis who kind of works the body, kind of comes forward. He's not real light on his feet. I would say he's more flat-footed, stand in front of you and let's fight. Where Taylor's more of the technical fighter. So, and it's in Taylor's backyard.
Would you pick a winner for us? Huh. Will you pick a winner?
I say Taylor. And the reason is the boxing. I think he's going to outbox him. He's not going to be dumb enough to get into a war with Regis. And if he can stay light on his feet, if he can stick and move, and he has the cardio to last those 12 championship rounds, it might be a one-sided fight on those scorecards. It's a dangerous fight anytime you go into your opponent's backyard, let alone going across the pond. And I'm not saying that the politics are going to get involved, which they may a little bit, but I just think that Taylor can outbox Prograis.
I agree. I'm going to have to go with my fellow Brit in Josh Taylor, but I just always think that, the fleet of foot boxer is going to be, you come forward, flat-footed fighter, like you kind of said, but the only problem I see is, in the last round when Josh Taylor was fighting, he got drawn into a slugfest against, was it Baranchek?
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Like, he's one of those kind of like a Mir Khan. Like, when he gets caught, he then just goes, the game plan goes out the window, and then he just kind of plants his feet and then just starts throwing. And with someone like Regis Prograis, he needs to be told every round, stick to the game plan. Don't get drawn into a duel like that against Regis Prograis, because he's got some real power.
That's a good fight. Over the weekend, yesterday, as a matter of fact, Top Rank had a big press conference out here where they announced their fall schedule. Starting off with Alexander Vodzik taking on Arthur Beterbiev. Those are two killers.
That's not going 12 rounds.
No. we were talking about this fight today. You got Beterbiev, who's 14-0 with 14 KOs. You got Vodzik. I believe he's 17-0 with 14 KOs. These guys are absolute killers in that ring, and that's going to be an absolute war. I wish it wasn't in Philadelphia, because that's going to be a must-see fight. That really is. That's every boxing fan that I know that isn't part of boxing media. So I would say, the casual fan. This is the type of fight that the casual fans want to see. This is the type of fight that's going to be an all-out blood and gut type fight. That few who has the intestinal fortitude to last the longest.
Yes, and you think you summed it up greatly there. I think it's just one of those ones where it's like, just pick a round. Yeah. When you think it's going to end, because I don't see it going 12 rounds.
Somebody's getting caught and somebody's going to sleep.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely like blink and you miss it. You just have to keep your eyes on the ring the whole time.
Yeah. Another fight that's very interesting that's going to be happening up in Reno on October 26th is the fight between Shakur Stevenson and Joet Gonzalez. You have Golden Boy. You have Top Rank. Joet's been calling out the top names. Oscar Valdez relinquished that title at featherweight. He's moving up to 130. And now you got these two guys that are fighting for that title. Stevenson, of course, the Olympian. Joet, they know each other from the amateurs, but they also know each other on a personal level because Shakur Stevenson is dating Joet's sister. So there's some bad blood there. There's some truly bad blood there. This fight is personal for both of them. I've seen Joet. I've seen him come up through Golden Boy. We've seen Shakur come up through Top Rank. He has Ward in his corner as a manager, as an advisor. This also could be another great fight that, I know they're both young, but they're both top-notch fighters. How do you see this fight playing out?
It's interesting because, looking at what they've done so far in their careers, I would say Shakur Stevenson is just a level above. I think if he can control what happens outside the ring and stay away from the role models of like Gervonta Davis and Adrian Broner and be more like like a Floyd and a Devin Haney and just concentrate on the game and what he wants to do in his career instead of out partying, getting arrested and stuff like that, then I think he could have a great career. Joe Gonzalez did an interview recently where he seemed very confident in it. He said, I've sparred Shakur and I know what happened in those spars and I think I'm going to win. So he seemed very confident. But
the thing is that although Joet looked good in his last fight against Dino Avila, when he fought the kid out of Tijuana, who just fought recently, I want to say his last name's Rivera. When he fought Rivera there at the Nokia, it was a tough fight for him. He got I believe he might have got a draw that fight. No, he just pulled it out. He just pulled that fight out, but it was a tough fight for him. He didn't look really impressive. But everybody has an off night. When you fight somebody like Shakur, he can't have an off night. He's going to have to be on his A game or he's going to get beat.
I think, in my opinion, it's a step too far for Joet Gonzalez. I don't think that he's going to be on the same level. I don't think he'll have the same type of career that Shakur have if Shakur actually goes on to fulfill all the pedigree and stuff that he seems to have so far.
Yeah, moving on. November 2nd, which now is the same date as Canelo. You got Canelo Kovalov November 2nd, but you also have Top Rank. Like I said, they just announced that new fall schedule, November 2nd, at the StubHub Center, right? You got the world champion, the junior lightweight world champion, Miguel Berchelt. He's going to be making the 6th defense of his title when he takes on former champion Jason Sosa. Great fight. Berchelt's a warrior. Sosa's never in a boring fight. Another classic Mexico versus Puerto Rico fight. I think that's just the type of card that Southern California needs because, as we all know, anytime Canelo steps in the ring, the nosebleed seats start at $500. Unless you're gonna watch it on pay-per-view and pay $100, you could probably spend $100 that you would spend on that pay-per-view and have 8 family members go watch this and have a hell of a time at the StubHub Center and enjoy a night out with your family and watch some damn good fights that are going to be taking place that night. Because I'm sure those tickets you can probably get for $15 to $20. So I think, it's the same night as Canelo. Of course, Canelo has a lot of fans. He is now starting to build up his fan base in Southern California. I don't think he's really had a stronghold on Southern California because for the longest time, Triple G locked it down. He's now just starting to develop his fan base in SoCal. But, if you're not watching that pay-per-view, if you're not spending $500 on a nosebleed seat to come out and see Canelo and Kovalov fight, that night, like I said, there's going to be some good fights. Berchelt's a warrior. At 130 pounds right now, he may be the best in that division, especially with Gervonta Davis relinquishing that title and saying he's going to be moving up to 35. I know he's had trouble making 130 pounds his last few fights. So, we'll see what happens. But I think Berchelt actually is going to stop Sosa that night. I think it'll be a tough fight, but I think he's gonna knock Sosa out.
I agree. I think Berchelt's just a level above Sosa, and I hope he does because I'd like to see Lomachenko clear up the 135, move back down, and I'd like to see Lomachenko Berchelt, sometime next year.
Yeah, another fight they announced November 9th. A week later, they're going to be up in Fresno. And you have the Fighting Marines, Semper Fi, Jamal Herring. He's going to be making the first defense of his mandatory title against his challenger, another Golden Boy fighter, coming up to fight a top-ranked fighter, Lamont Roach Jr. That's going to be at the Chansey Ballpark in Fresno. And we'll see what happens there. I haven't been high on Herring as well. I don't think he's fought any real tough level of competition. I don't think Roach has either, but I think Roach is a little bit better fighter than Herring is. Oh. And I see on this one, I see him actually beating Herring.
Oh,
yeah, I'm going.
It's a big statement.
Yeah, I'm going with Lamont Roach on this fight. He's fought some tough fights, and I think he's gonna go into to Fresno and he's gonna going to take that title away from Harry.
2019 is the year of the underdog.
Yes.
I'm kind of disappointed, though, that they didn't end up on a Marine base like he was wanting.
Actually, they were trying at Camp Pendleton.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Abe from New York Fights. He was trying to make that fight happen out at Camp Pendleton. I know there were some people in San Diego that were involved as well before the Camp Pendleton fight, where they were trying to get it onto a aircraft carrier there in San Diego. They were going to have the fight on an aircraft carrier, and for one reason or the other, that didn't work out. But it would imagine a fight in the middle of Camp Pendleton with nothing but a bunch of jarheads. That would be absolutely mad. That would be just a wild night of boxing, especially with Herring being in the ring.
That would have been good, just for him. That weekend, obviously being Veterans Day in November, that weekend, right? So it would have been perfect to just match it all together. Him being the Marine, being the champion, having it at Camp Pendleton or whatever base they could get.
And I do believe that said Veterans Day, November 11th, but November 9th, if I'm not mistaken, may be the Marine Corps birthday. So I have to check on that.
They need to get it moved.
Yeah.
They need to move it to a camp.
That would be just absolutely bananas to have that type of fight.
That's a pretty strong end to the year for Top Rank, don't you think?
Oh yeah, and Top Rank has a way. Actually, the Marine Corps birthday is November 10th. So excuse me if I offended.
The day.
And yeah, if I messed up the day, it is November 10th. I should have known that. I work at a veterans home. I've worked there for 9 years. I should know this. For some reason, November 9th popping in my head. It's November 10th. But they're strong, and they do that. They know how to put their stories. They've done it for years. They know how to bring these fighters up. They know how to play to the crowd. Recently Bob Arum had talked about the gypsies and the Mexicans and the Jews and the Italians, and how he's fighting for all these races that have been oppressed for all these years. They know how to tell a story. They did it with Ray Beltran. They did it with Jamal Herring. So I mean, Top Rank, they know how to put these fights together. They know how to sell their fights to the public. Bob Arum's been doing this for a long time. He's been around forever. He's worked with Don King. He's worked with Muhammad Ali. He's not a dumb man.
Exactly. No better way to put it, really. But before we let you go, Anthony, I'd like to ask you your opinion on KSI, Logan Paul. Good for boxing, bad for boxing.
As a boxing journalist, okay, if you can bring attention to the sport from any direction, whether it's little Caucasian kids out in Orange County to the different kids out of Compton that are skateboarding and whatnot that follow this guy like KSI, if you bring a different culture into boxing, it gets more exposure. We're not like England. We're not like Mexico, We don't have boxing running through our blood here in the United States the way other countries do. The reason being is that the United States pushes so much money into their own agenda of the NFL, Major League Baseball, the National Basketball Association, and the NBA. You got baseball, you got hockey, you got football, you got basketball, you got all these sports. You even got NASCAR. That's above boxing here in the United States. So when you start dipping into other cultures and bringing boxing to light to people that don't normally watch boxing, I think it's a plus. Personally, I don't dig it. It is, it's they're making a mockery of the sport. That's the way I see it. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, I see it's a business, and if they can bring attention to the sport, it's good for the sport.
Because as soon as the tickets go on sale, it's going to sell out. And then, last time I think they got over 1 million, pay-per-view buys at I think it was either $5 or $10, $10
YouTube,
a time.
I think they showed it on YouTube or something.
Yeah, that's right. They priced it right, and then obviously they did that well that Matchroom jumped at the chance, and DAZN to be involved in this time around. So Yeah, we've been asking everybody that we've had on. We asked Gabriel Flores, and me and Danny were kind of chopping it up the other week, talking about it, and I think it's one of those where I think boxers should actually take a leaf out of their book and realize that social media has made them stars, in the YouTube world, and they play games or whatever they do, like FIFA and stuff like that online, and people watch them. That's why the young stars coming through, they have to create a persona. They have to use the Instagram. They have to use Twitter, like Ryan Garcia did.
Exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. And this is where Golden Boy has to understand that this is a new generation. And I'm sure they do. But they have to, I think they have to mold Ryan into maybe coming across a different way. Maybe his manager, the people that are behind him, that they have to do it a different way. They can't get onto Twitter and blast Golden Boy. That's who made Ryan. Personally, what I feel is that whatever he felt he needs to get should have been negotiated when that contract was first signed with his family, with him, with his manager, with his team. If they thought that this 15-time amateur national champion was going to be a superstar and that he'd have all these millions of followers, I think he has 3 million now on Instagram, they should have negotiated that into the contract stating, hey, this is his base pay. This is what he's going to get as far as signing goes. And then for every so many sales that you get, pay-per-view sales, he wants a cut of it. You can't try to renegotiate when you're in the middle of the contract. I don't know if they needed money. I don't know what the hell happened. I don't care what happened. But this is what Golden Boy gave you. That's the contract, what you signed and you agreed upon. They gave it to you. They gave you an offer. They threw some money in your face. You took it. Guess what? Now you're stuck with it, brother.
Exactly.
But back to the social media. If they mold Ryan and they can sit down like a dog, both Golden Boy, both Ryan Garcia, and not have people saying, oh, Dunno, he said Dunno was too tough for this or that, and then have people on social media adding fuel to the fire. If they can just sit down, get away from everybody, talk it out, they can get real rich off Ryan real quick. Everybody can be happy, including Ryan, including Golden Boy, including DAZN. There's money to be made off of that kid. I think he's right. I think he does sell. I think he does sell that stadium out. He can be a main attraction, not because of the level of fighters he's fighting, but because of the following. They got to find a happy medium because he has a lot of fans behind him. He has a big fan base. They love him. But the way he's acting is showing me that he doesn't love his fans back. He should have got in that ring today. That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
No, we had,
and like I said, I have my opinion. It doesn't have anything to do with the media outlet I work for. It's my personal opinion. And anytime there's fight, big fight, there's always a backup plan. And I'm sure Golden Boy had a backup plan, which was Dunno, which then ended up being Peter Petrov. And it still didn't work out. That can't happen.
It did,
It did.
kind of kill the card, to be honest. There was only 2 fights that people wanted to see.
For years, everybody knows that the StubHub are the gladiator grounds. That's where wars happen. Every single war that Southern California has had has happened at the StubHub Center. What Golden Boy did is turn that fight card into a mockery. That ended up being Fantasy Springs West tonight. It was a club show. They could have put that damn show at the Belasco Theater. Seriously.
Oh, it's true.
I've seen a better fight, a better card, when Jesus Soto Caras and Kamagai went at it at the Belasco Theater. I've seen better than what happened tonight at the StubHub Center. And I don't care if there was a women's world title fight on the line. Seriously. Because if you think about it, personally, it's good for boxing that there's women, women fighting for a title. Okay, I like it. I dig it. But really, how many fans does women boxing have to turn that card to make up for Ryan Garcia?
That's a whole show into itself, isn't it?
There you
Diving
go.
into the women's boxing, you know, I am a fan, and I hope it grows. I did enjoy the Heather Hardy Amanda Serrano fight on Friday night. Heather Hardy, every time she fights, you know, she gets covered in blood and she gives it her all.
I love it as well.
I love your women's UFC fighters. They're really great.
I love women in boxing. I do. It's fine. Let them fight. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
No.
You know, when it comes down to the fan base and women fighting for equal pay and wanting to be paid like the men do in boxing, they've got to develop that fan base.
It's not there yet.
It's not.
Yeah.
They've got to figure it out.
Yeah, that's true. But on that note, Anthony, I'd like to thank you for coming in. If you want to advertise, you know, Supreme Boxing and all your network.
Well, you could follow me on Supreme Boxing. Of course, follow our website at supremeboxinginc.com. And you can catch us on all social media networks, including Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can also catch me every Sunday afternoon with my partner, Sean Fitzgerald, on the Beat the Count podcast Sunday, sometimes 2 o'clock, sometimes 3 o'clock, just depending on when we can bring the fighters in. So make sure to tune in. And also, if you're listening in tonight, make sure to tell your friends to listen to the Last Round 12, to tune into their podcast. Danny's great. Mike's great. If you're listening to them, there's no reason why you shouldn't be sharing it with your friends, hashtagging them, following them on Twitter, on YouTube, whatever social media they're at as well, man. They're a good group of guys. I've been knowing Mike and Danny for a long time. We're partners. It's a small boxing community. If you're a boxing fan, make sure to follow all of us, man. There's enough room for enough fight fans to follow all of us.
No, that's it. There's enough love to go around for everybody.
Exactly.
And we'll be back. Me and Daddy will be back Monday night as usual, episode 48, reviewing all the fights from this weekend, all the madness with Ryan Garcia and everybody else, and then looking forward to next week, where, to be honest, there isn't kind of a week off.
Yeah.
A rare week off.
Yeah, exactly. And then 2 weeks, big Porter fight in LA.
Exactly. Yeah. So everyone be looking forward to that.
Yep.
Right, Buck. We'll catch you Monday. Thanks, Anthony, again.
Thank you.
Thanks for supporting and listening to the show. Follow us at The Last Round 12 on social media. Rate, review, and subscribe. This is The Last Round